tradition of handicraft. It is, yeah, the handicrafts are the integral part of Indian culture, and also simultaneously this handicraft heritage, they play a significant role in tourism. So first thing that we must bear it in the mind that the handicrafts are the integral part of Indian culture. Because you want the paper is an Indian culture, so the paper will remain incomplete if we do not touch or if we do not have any discussion on handicraft, and simultaneously these handicrafts are also very closely associated with tourism. As you know, in the yesterday class we had focused on the role of the museums. So the role of the museums, as they preserve you, if you go to museum you will find out the collection of valuable artifacts made in India for thousands of years. They preserve it. And when we are going to discuss the handicrafts in the present scenario, you will see in the present scenario, various types of handicraft, maybe your metal craft, wood craft, stone craft, clay craft, and the handicraft with ivory, coral, gems, jewelry, all these things. Different aspects. Indian handicraft is diverse in character. You will find out various types of handicrafts. The very first chapter of your unit, Indian handicraft, continuity and changes, is commoditization of handicrafts. So before going to be acquainted what is commoditization, then we will come to the process. So what is commoditization? The process of turning a useful thing into a thing for sale is called a commodity, and the process is called commoditization. When I am using, suppose take for example, I am wearing this earring. So when I am wearing this earring, this is for personal use. But when the artisan prepares the earring for the general sale purpose, I want to sell it in the market, I will get some profit. So this commodity, when I prepare it for the purpose of a business, for the purpose of sale, so this article becomes a commodity, and the process through which I use to sell it, that is called the process of commoditization. And here we must be aware, right from ancient time, various objects were prepared, various things were prepared by the Indian artisans, but they were for personal use only. So I am an artisan, I am preparing things, it is for personal use, for the community use, for the family use, and the members of the society, they were using it. It did not have any business purpose behind it. The business purpose which was attached to the artisan's production, it came only after the establishment of mills and industries. So while going to discuss on handicraft, again we shall go back to 17th and 18th century Europe. You know that since 15th century, the process of modernization, it started in the continent of Europe. So when it started, the process of modernization, it started in Europe. It is called the process of Renaissance. And after that, you know, geographical discoveries, the European explorers, they now made the geographical exploration all over the world. And after exploring the undiscovered territories, they carried on the process of colonization. And in that process, the countries in Asia and Africa, they were colonized by the modern European powers. And when the Europeans established their colonies in various parts of America, North America, South America, Australia, Asia, and Africa, they found out raw materials. They first went there as business community and they found out various raw materials there, and they wanted to convert the raw materials into finished goods as quick as possible. So they felt the necessity of machineries. Handmade things are time taking. Machine made things, naturally it can be produced in large quantity within a limited time. So from this necessity, there now arose industrial revolution. So the industrial revolution, the beginning of various types of industries, the establishment and growth of different types of mills and industries, the process first started in England. And gradually, other European countries like France, Germany, there also industries sprang up. The point is this, that when industrial revolution started, coming to the Indian context, we find out that meal industries were established in India during 19th century. And there were broadly two types of goods were produced: articles of mass consumption, those things which are used for our everyday day-to-day life, they were cheaper and they were produced with less skill. On the other hand, there were refined and sophisticated items for the use of the richer class in the society. The production of these articles, it now required very high skill of high standard, and they were not to be produced in bulk. Therefore, what happened? So among these items were fine muslin cloth. There is a typical muslin cloth, muslin, not M. M is Muslim, muslin, Lin. Muslin cloth, silk cloth, jewelry, traditional shoes, decorative swords, weapons, etc. But both the types of handicrafts were there, but it gradually declined because during the time of colonial rule and due to the onslaught or due to the intervention of the mills and industries. So with the colonial rule, as I told you, that in pre-British India, there was in ancient time, there was artisan class, but whatever they were producing, they were for the general consumption of the society, not for any business purpose. But with the march of time, we find out that especially in the medieval period, we find out that the richer class in the society, the aristocrat section in the society, they now used to produce things through karkhanas. Karkhanas means the factories. So here we find out that in ancient time, the kings or the aristocrats, they had their own karkhanas. What they were making in this karkhana? The clothes, shoes were made by the artisans, and goldsmith was making gold ornament. The barhais were making the wooden furnitures. The lohars or the ironsmith, they were dealing with iron objects. The cobbler was dealing with leather objects or the shoes. So we find out this artisan class, they had one group that is called the crafts guild, which basically was the association of the craftsmen of a particular group and their merchants. This craft class was not rich, they were bringing money from the merchants. So on the other hand, there was the group of merchant guilds which were to provide the money and to make business with the production of the artisan. This was the system. So handicrafts had not become an article of commodity. But as you know, that with the establishment of colonial rule, there now came a number of changes. there now came a number of changes in this system. What happened? I have told you that when Vasco da Gama, the Portuguese sailor, discovered sea route to India, naturally, after the discovery of sea route to India, the European merchants, they began to come to India because certain Indian objects, articles, they were in heavy demand in the European market. The Indian muslin cloths, the Indian spices, ivory. These were the very articles which had great demand. So the different companies from different countries of Europe, like that of Portuguese East India Company, like your Swedes East India Company from Sweden, Danes East India Company from Denmark, French East India Company from France. So and at last came the English East India Company. And among all these European companies, now English company, they came out successful in becoming the political master of India. The year was 1757. And after becoming the master of India, naturally, they now got the right of collecting revenue from the Indians. And in course of time, they now established their monopoly in the trade and commerce. So the colonial masters, they now monopolized the Indian trade and business, trade and commercial activities. When they now monopolized the Indian trade, naturally the Indian artisan class, the merchant guilds, the craft guild, they could not carry on their trade and commercial activities because in every trade and commercial circle there was the monopoly of the British class. And this thing continued. The misery this is a very great misery, this financial loss, the misery hardly found a parallel in the history of commerce. So the economic exploitation by the colonial power, it finds a parallel in the history of commerce. The financial exploitation was during the time of British rule had touched the topmost limit. So you were also under the colonial rule, under different various European powers. You also are also acquainted with the misery of the colonial rule. Therefore, when India became independent in 1947, we find out that attention was given in the direction of the development of Indian handicraft. So Indian handicraft there was so much of decline in the Indian handicraft. Now the new government, the independent government, thought it his prime duty how to revive the Indian handicraft after independence. So All India Handicraft Board was established in 1952 to investigate the problem and suggest the promotional avenues for the development of handicraft. In 1958, Handicraft and Handloom Export Corporation of India came into existence. Crafts Museum was opened in Delhi 1953. Apart from this, we find out that Government of India had established zonal cultural center in the form of Shilpa Grama. Shilpa Grama means industrial village or craft village. Then we find out that Central Cottage Industry Emporium. My purpose is to show you that in the post-independence era, due to the declining stage in the Indian handicraft, we find out the independent government of independent India not only created a number of organizations to give boost for the growth of handicraft in various parts of India. And almost you see, Indian independence has crossed 75 years. And Within the 75 years, if we look at the craft scenario of India, you will find out remarkable changes. Remarkable changes have come in the craft arena, and I will discuss in detail what are the things in which area, what is the present condition of Indian handicraft. But we find out still then the insufficient growth, we have not achieved the maximum limit. There are certain problems which had hampered the growth of the handicraft in a proper manner. The first was your lack of infrastructure. So you see the handicraft section or production in India, in certain aspects, it is still an unorganized sector. So in many places, there is lack of transport and other communication networks. It leads to information gap. So when there is an increase in demand, large quantities of goods are produced without any regard to quality. And here in this case, it lowers the value of the product in the market, ultimately damaging the craft. So the insufficient growth is one of the important factor, was the lack of proper infrastructure. Another important factor was your use of outdated tools. Indian handicrafts are still produced by using century-old tools and techniques. So how we find out that even till today, in certain sector, you will find out the outdated machineries. So in fact, if we make a comparative study with our neighbor China, in China, the improvement in tools and designs have helped the traditional handicraft to gain enormous competitive values in the international market, whereas with the Indians or in India, the thing is not so bright, because this sector, we find out the outdated tools are yet to be replaced. So time has come, proper steps, if they are taken in this direction, it will provide the desired result. The lack of capital. Another important factor in the weakness in the handicraft sector is the lack of capital. Indian artisans lack the capital for investment in their own production. Therefore, what do? They have to borrow from the market at higher rate of interest. This not only reduces their margin of profit, but also the quality of the thing and the timing of their product, it takes more time. Therefore, the lack of capital is another important factor. Lack of market research. Market research is generally in the underdeveloped areas of Indian handicraft. The artisans simply go on producing their specialized goods on the demands of the merchants who will sell these products. Lack of marketing strategy is another important factor that leads to the drop in the production and losses both for the merchant and the craftsman. And the last weakness in the handicraft sector is your middlemen. A large number of middlemen are thriving at the expense of both the consumer and the artisans. They not only artificially hike the prices, but also sell the fake products in the name of the originals. The artisans normally lack the avenue of direct approach to the customer. If this facility are created, then the producer can have direct entry to the market, and this will not only benefit the artisans, but also will make available the goods, genuine goods, and at a very cheaper rate. However, a number of non-governmental organizations or NGOs and self-employed women groups, Seva, who are looking to this sector to set the things in the right form. So we now or I now try to give you a very rudimentary idea that what is commoditization, the commoditization of handicraft. So handicraft, which was exclusively devoted for personal use, that how in course of time it became an object of sale. Now it developed a marketing status, and at present handicraft, it has occupied a very significant factor not only in Indian culture but also in Indian marketing sector, and especially for the tourists. These handicrafts are always very alluring because handicrafts of India in various forms, really they are charming and they are attractive. So now our point of discussion will be on the second chapter, second unit, that is 22 unit. The unit now deals with the four forms of Indian handicraft. The handicraft made of clay, handicraft of stone, then handicraft of wood, and the handicraft of metals. So now we will start with the Indian handicraft. After we will see India first is we will go to clay. As I told you that India has a rich tradition of craft and artisan production. So India has a very rich tradition. Before the idea I gave you, it became a commodity only after industrial production. But prior to that, we find out the common articles of functional use. The artisans were there, the craftsmen were there, they were preparing articles, but they were exclusively meant for your daily day-to-day use. But now we find out, at present we find out two types of production for day-to-day use and another is for decorative purpose. And in both the cases, we see the skill and art of the craftsman. And even in the items of daily use, a lot of skill, both function is required, and also for the decorative purpose, furthermore skill is required. Now, first we will come to clay craft, or the clay handicraft is called pottery. In India, like elsewhere in the world, the earliest craft is the clay craft. Clay pottery, unearthed by archaeological excavation, have helped the archaeologists and the historians in reconstructing the history of the old ancestors, bygone ancestors. So here you must see that clay craft. First we will see earthenwares or pottery made of earth. Here in this connection, while discussing about the Harappan culture, I had told you that Harappan pottery is generally plain with some black painted decoration. Large number of terracotta figurines have been found here. They were mainly used either for religious purpose and some were used for toy purpose. A variety of birds, animals, male and female figures have been found out. So thus we see that in Harappan culture there was the presence of pottery. In India, simple earthenware, glazed pottery were made. So it shows the potters have been traditionally an integral part of Indian society. So in Indian village society, you will find out the presence of the potters, and pottery is associated with ancient civilization. And here in this connection, I gave you the example of the terracotta figurines, the terracotta clay pottery in Harappan culture. Following it, a long tradition of terracotta flourishing till today. Even till today, in the present day setup, you will find out various terracotta figures of gods, goddesses, items of daily uses, and decorative pieces. They have dark red color. The pots are generally shaped on the potter's wheel, and after that, the other artworks and decorative works are done. The fittings, figurines are made by hand. And in some Indian states in the northeast, like Assam and Manipur, even the shaping of the clay for or earthenware is done with the help of hand. They do not take the help of the potter's wheel. So my point is this: so far as earthenware handicraft is concerned, India is maintaining a very, very rich antique tradition till today. So right from Harappan pottery, 5,000 years back till today, the Indian pottery tradition, earthenware trade tradition, it is full of with rich heritage and legacy. The second type of clay craft is your potteries made with porcelain and ceramics. So the porcelain and ceramic pottery have also been used or were in use in large variety. So unlike earthenware, where all the stages of manufacture was done by hand, in ceramic pottery, it was with the help of machine is also taken, very little rudimentary form, and in some cases it is made with hand, painted and decorated by craftsmen, and finally it is baked in the modern furnaces. In Rajasthan is a state in India. Its capital, Jaipur, is an important center of pottery. Khurja is a place in Uttar Pradesh. It is renowned. It is famous for glazed pottery. What are the main centers of this earthen pottery? As I told you, that in Uttar Pradesh, Chinahat, Nizamabad, and especially in Bengal, you see, from 21st to 24th October, 4 days, there will be the celebration of Durga Puja. It is a Hindu festival for 4 days where a mother goddess who is called Durga is worshipped, and it is Durga Puja has been attached with heritage status, heritage festival by the UNESCO. And this Durga Puja festival in Bengal, there you will find out that wall panels and plaques of terracotta are the great features of this region. Especially in Bengal, you will find out wall panels and the plaques in terracotta and the figures of gods and goddesses, especially of Durga. Bengal is the main center. Orissa and Madhya Pradesh, they are famous in terracotta roof tiles. In Kashmir, a special, Kashmir is in North India, extreme part of North. It is more specific for glazed pottery in Srinagar, and there we find out large storage jars in Kashmir. They are also famous. Articles of daily use, images and icons for Buddhist monasteries are made in bright colors in Ladakh. Ladakh is also a region. In the Kutch region of the state of Gujarat, we find out earthenware. Then in Karnataka, it is famous for black pottery. And Maharashtra, the state of Maharashtra, has a long tradition of making Ganesh deity. That is, the festival is very famous in Maharashtra. They have that tradition like Durga Puja tradition in Bengal. In the northeast, Manipur is famous for pottery, and earthenware from Goa has a rich velvet surface. I gave you just ideas which are to be found out in the earthen or in clay craft. Coming to stone work, when we come to the stone work, stone is perhaps the earliest friend of man in the history of human civilization, because stone, it is through stone they used to earn their livelihood. They used to survive. The earliest tools available to us are in the form of stones. So the whole epoch of human civilization is termed as Stone Age. A variety of tools and articles of daily use were first the objects of stone. The Harappan culture in India have yielded a number of small these articles like jars, plates, bowls, saddles, weights, etc. Use of stone. First, they were used in the article purpose, then the use of stone for building purpose and sculpture, and in the sculpture also dates back to thousands of years. The most famous in Harappa also, we find out a bearded head at Mohenjo-daro and other forms of statues are found. Stone culture, a stone sculptor in northwestern region are also famous. My point is this, that not only the different articles and tools or utensils were made from stone, gradually stones were used in building architecture, then stones were used in building images and different types of statues, and we find out different very beautiful sculptural representations on these stones. If you come to the famous temple in Odisha, the Sun Temple of Konark, Jagannath Temple at Puri, the Khajuraho Temple, the Meenakhipuram and Rameswar Temple are the few examples. They are constructed in stone, and these are all the places of tourist importance. Excuse me. Large variety of stone, which are the and while discussing about the architecture, I told you Fatehpur Sikri, Qutub Minar at Delhi, Fatehpur Sikri, Agra, Delhi, Jaipur, and many other places. We have the examples of stone craft and Taj Mahal, because it is made of because it is Taj Mahal, it is made of marbles. So it is the climax, the zenith point of Indian stone craft. The main centers are the Salem district in Tamil Nadu, and we find out Gaya in Bihar, then beautiful temples in Bhubaneswar, Puri, and Konark in Orissa, the Kathiawar region in Gujarat, and in Kashmir, you will find out innumerable stone crafts. They are in the form of temples, statues, different types of objects of daily uses like bowls, glasses, small boxes, jewelry box, wall palettes, and other decorative pieces. So, like clay craft tradition, the stone craft tradition in India, it gives us a very brilliant picture. The Indian woodcraft is equally another important feature which is dominated by the expertise of craftsmen. Invention of machines and the factories in this field is still minimal. Like the potter almost found out in every villages, similarly we find out the presence of carpenters. Things made with wood were widely used in day-to-day life. But in certain region, even the houses were made of wood. So now we will have some examples. You see, besides wood, varieties of wood and cane work. There is a tree, what is called cane tree, different types of furnitures. The most widely used of wood are the agricultural implements, carts, accessories of the house and household furnitures. All the towns and big villages have their artisan workshops making these things. But besides that, we find out the cane, the bullock cart, you find out, are made of various shapes and size with a small iron plow. The unique feature of beautiful carving, which are specific to the diverse regions. The household furniture, from huge poster beds to humble stools, variety of decorative patterns throughout the country you will find out in the form of utensils, trays, cups, boxes, then your chests, etc. So you see wood and cane works. For wood, you will see that in the Gujarat district, Gujarat state of India, provide elegance to the house. They use doors, windows, pillars are decorated with wooden carving. Even the big structures, there you will find out wooden carvings. In the Rajouri region of Kashmir, there you will find out the use of wood. Then in Saharanpur in UP is famous for wooden furniture. Wooden furniture, screens and decorative pieces. And in the south, especially in Karnataka, you will find out more of sandalwood. So a number of sandalwood commodities. They are mainly the commodities for sale, and their sandalwood of red color. It is also available. Madurai is famous for the use of rosewood, the furniture and small decorative pieces with best samples of carving are plenty here. So the things that I am telling you that India, when you are discussing thus Goa, then have your another important Nagaland. In the tribal regions of India also, you will find out the specific woodworks on spoon, bowls, smoking pipes, and other household objects. Another important skill in the area of woodcraft is wood lacquer work. So wood lacquer work is done in various parts of India. Then let us come, the another variety of wood is your bamboo and cane. The tribal society, they mainly depend on the forest products. So in the northeastern region of Assam is the biggest center of canned furniture. So canned furniture, chairs, baskets, garden swings, household items are made with can. A variety of baskets with different types and designs are also available from the can. Then mats of bamboo. Another important thing, the mats of bamboo, baskets of bamboo, broad tops, narrow taparins, they are also made from bamboo. So workers of tea plantation in bamboo, they use bamboo hearts. So sital patti mats, a mat, a typical type of mat called sital patti means you will feel very cold. You will feel very comfortable. They are cold in extreme heat or extreme summer. If you use a sital patti mat, you will feel very comfortable. Or an exquisite variety of mat made in Assam. So we find out that along with your wood, there is the can work furniture or can handicraft and bamboo handicraft. Tamil Nadu is famous for colorful mats made with a thin standard of reed and grass. In India, in certain states, typical type of grass and reeds are available with which furnitures are made, chairs, stools are made, and they are unique in their own respect because you will not find out this type of grasses all over India. So we find out that a typical type of grass in Bihar, Mithila region, large variety of baskets and figures are made from the local grass called sikki. In Odisha, a typical type of grass called savai grass, they are with which there are different types of sofa set. Sofas are being made. and they are in a very, and it is handicraft. They are prepared with hand, no help from the machinery. As I had already told you, and I have referred several times, that Indian culture is diverse in character. So because it is a very big country, it is almost in the size of a continent, it is called as a subcontinent, you will find out various types of handicraft which is unique in a particular place, not all over India. So when we refer to the wood craft, bamboo craft, can craft, then ceramic craft, earthen craft, so different regions have their own uniqueness. Now let me come to the metal craft. So what is metal craft? Metal craft, we find out metals of all types, they are worked in, found out in India. And when we come to the excavation of Harappa in the early phase, we find out the metal objects, the metal craft, and this metal was copper and bronze. They dates back around 2500 BCE. The copper was most widely used metal in India before the arrival of iron. So in Harappa, we find out the copper utensils, bangles, other jewelry items, statues, axe heads, arrowheads, daggers made of copper. This is the evidence to suggest that the people were used for casting many copper objects. And along with that, there was also the system of polishing. Bronze is an alloy of copper and tin, and the Harappan excavation have yielded a few bronze objects also, though very few as compared to copper. The best example of bronze work is the statue of a dancing girl found at Mohenjo-daro. Bronze saw, some figurines, and few other objects have been found from the various sites of Harappan civilization. The traditional metal craft, it continued through historic times, and here we find out the copper statue of Buddha from Sultanganj in India, and the iron pillar of Delhi at 4th century AD. All these are a large number of cannons, guns, huge iron gates, fine objects of different metals were manufactured in 16th and 17th century. My point is this: the rich tradition of India so far as the metal craft is concerned. The skills of the craftsmen in their work on metal is of various types. The use of color in the metal object or the metal things which were being prepared, there was the use of color. The artist used to give shapes to the object with the help of molds or hands, and the art of engraving on the surface of the metal work, it was also there, and they were done by cutting, etching, scratching various patterns and that of various designs. So dear participants, the idea that I am trying to give you, that the metal craft tradition in India, it is as remote and as it has got a very antique touch with it right since the time of Harappan civilization. Like other crafts, metal works also, where the main centers, Kashmir and Ladakh, they are the two important centers where copper vessels, utensils of everyday use are made. The vessels were of specific shapes. They include cooking pots, flower pots, hubble bubble, bases, water jug, plate, basin, lotas, etc., etc. So the whole thing is this. Besides this, tea bowls, kettle, jugs, and other articles of copper with decorated floral patterns and designs have also come to limelight. They were made of either brass or silver. In Uttar Pradesh, especially Moradabad is a place it deserves specific mention because it has a long tradition of 400 years tradition of brass work. They are flower pots, then bowls, plates, lotus, candle stands, all sorts of decorative items. So Moradabadi brass item means they are in high demand in the international market. So Moradabad, Aligarh and Benares, they are famous centers in the northeast in Assam and Manipur. In the state of Bengal, Midnapur and where I am there is no strong. So now we find out that Bardhaman and Midnapur in Bengal, they are noted for their metal pots and pans. So here we find out that another important thing in Rajasthan, especially in Jaipur, enameling. Enameling of the metals is done with lac paints. In Jaipur, you will find out the enameling of the metal. So the whole of South India has a very rich tradition of metal work. What I told you till now, it is in North and Northeastern India. Coming to South India, in Kerala, Andhra, they have their own specific crafts. The main item here are the images of gods and goddesses, the famous Nataraj in various dance pose is a very favorite object. The image confirms to the dynastic regimes of the Chola rule, Pandya rule, Pallava rule, Nayaka rule, etc. Kerala, the southernmost state of India, specializes in bell metal. Bidar in Karnataka is famous for metal work, and here we find out that the craft tradition of India, in various parts of India, we find out this craft tradition, they have their own respective influences. As I have not pointed earlier, traditionally India had a large number of artisans and the craftsmen. From every region, every craft had their own workmen. They are known by their name of the crafts in different regions. Who are they? The jewelers, potters, ivory makers, perfumers, goldsmith, weaver, carpenter, then painter, blacksmith, agricultural instrument maker, coppersmith, glass maker, cutter of crystals, then stone cutter, embroiderer, then paper maker, lac worker, then bamboo worker, so on and so forth. The list is a very lengthy one. When Mughal, some people, I could not follow. Any problem? Anything, any problem with you? No. So now you see that Babur in 1526, he had amassed when he defeated Ibrahim Lodi in the first battle of Panipat. He was amassed to see large range of workmen in India. So large men of workmen in India, he was amassed to see the artisans and the craftsmen. They mostly work with simple tools and implements. The organization of production is mainly individual and it is family based. Most of the times, the whole family is involved in craft, and sometimes the children at an early age also learn the craft because most of the crafts run in the same family generation after generation. In some cases, they sell their produce to some traders who make these for earning high, who market these things for higher earning. So all those are marketing things. Now cooperative societies have been established, the initiative government intervention. A number of establishment has also been created to help the craftsmen directly to market their works and thus eliminating the role of middlemen who were interested in making profits. traditionally the artisan and craftsmen, they are yet to get the proper share of their work is significant. Another significant thing is the participation of women in different crafts, because in almost all area you will find out the involvement of the family. So the children of the family, that lady members of the family, they had also their involvement. So you see, I now made you acquainted with clay craft, with metal craft, with wood craft, and with stone craft. Now, our point of discussion will be the Unit 23, and Unit 23 deals with other forms of Indian handicraft, that is ivory, that is gems, and that is jewelry. So ivory, gems, and jewelry. You know, ivory craft is an age-old craft. Since history, in the pages of history, we find out the reference to ivory craft. Then we find out the presence of gems, the precious and semi-precious stones, the uh, presence of gem works and the jewelry, gold and silver works, different aspects of ornament making, including materials used, varieties of objects, and some minor crafts like paper mache, horn, and shell work. Now, coming to ivory, generally, as you know, it is the tooth structure of an elephant, and elephant, walrus, hippopotamus, etc. But at one time, India was a flourishing craft in ivory. Presently, India has banned the practice of this craft, its trade and transaction in all forms. This has been done in view of protecting the elements whose number is gradually decreasing day by day. So it has been banned in India that ivory craft, it cannot be carried on. Anyhow, unscrupulous poachers, they are killing animal for its task to have this their teeth, and a ban on hunting did not yield result anyhow. So now let us come. What is the ivory work? We get for ivory craft in Indian, reference in Indian history. A large number of ivory articles have been excavated from various sites of India. So from various sites of India, the earliest objects which is available to us made of ivory is from Harappan excavation. Ivory plaques showing a male figure and another with a deer-like animal are the earliest figure of Harappa. Hair combs, hair pins made of ivory are discovered from Harappa. Dices, seals, then ivory handles have also been found out. There are no reference to ivory in Vedic literature. But in Vedic civilization, we do not find out reference to ivory. However, we find out that in Ramayana and Mahabharata in India, we have two epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. You will find out reference there. And the Buddhist literature also make reference to ivory. So a number of ivory pieces have been unearthed from different parts of India like Utnur, Piklihal, then Chirand, Ahar, etc., etc. So my point is this, at present ivory craft is thoroughly banned all over India. But the pages of history is to stand as a witness to this craft when we find out different types of ivory objects has been explored from Harappan remains, and the literary pages of Mahabharata, Ramayana, the works of Kalidas, the Arthashastra mentions the ivory objects, and they also referred to its prices. During medieval time, ivory work was considered as a very delicate work. And here we find out a number of boxes then powder horn, dagger handle, chessmen are available. And here we find out we get the the figurines of Radha, Krishna, Ganesh made of ivory in Odisha. In South Vijayanagar had ivory bedsteads, and the palace had an ivory room also. So my thing is this, that ivory was in medieval time, they were in use. The craft tradition continued in modern India. The main centers of ivory craft were in Bengal, Mysore, Kerala, and Rajasthan. In Kerala, there is a rich tradition of making gods and goddesses with ivory, and the craft was given a special place in the state of Travancore. Here, gods and goddesses, animals, birds, fishes, fruits, flowers, crippets, palanquins, thrones, engraving were most important. So, on different engravings, for decorative purposes, ivory items were attached to it. Another specialty of Kerala was the painting on ivory. So you will find out painting on ivory, and your Mysore produced figurines of gods and goddesses on sandalwood object. So on sandalwood object, there will be the attachment of ivory works. In north in Jaipur, in chess pieces, you will find out the use of ivory works. And in the jewelry, decorative pieces, birds and animals, you will find out that how there was ivory inlay work. In Gujarat, Madhura in Bhavnagar district is another center for ivory craft. Huge human figures, rosewater sprinklers, elephants, camels were made with ivory. Then Amritsar and Delhi are also specialized in ivory work. Ivory of comes from Amritsar. The combs made of ivory, it is being produced in Amritsar. Then floral and bird motifs. So on the combs you will find out different types of designs with ivory, etc. So the point is this, that the ivory work is a very age-old tradition of India. At present it is banned, but still then, if when the elephant dies in a natural way, his teeth is collected, then it is sent to some craftsmen. So in certain parts of India, few craftsmen are there who do this work, though in ancient and medieval time, their number was more. Then the gems and the precious stones. A large variety of precious and semi-precious stones have been found out in different parts of India. And these stones and semi-precious stones, they were mainly used in jewelry and in other decorative purposes. The diamond is the most precious stone found in India. The main region where diamonds were found from Golconda in South India, the southern part of Bihar, Khokra, and in Kalinjir Panna of central India. So now, at present, the availability of diamond in raw form is very limited. At present, naturally, it is in a very limited form. The expertise of Indian craftsmen lies in cutting the raw diamond in a specific style, giving it a real glitter. The craft is practiced in Gujarat. Here, the uncut diamonds are brought from different parts of the world, not of India only, but of the world, and are cut by the craftsmen. Then pearl fishery. Pearl fishery has for centuries been practiced in India. The main region of pearl fishery were the coastal regions of Gujarat, Odisha, and South India. Other precious semi-stones extensively used for a long time in India are The steatite, agate, serpentine, jasper, lapis lazuli, turquoise, amethyst, granite, ruby, chalcedony, rock crystal, emerald, carnelian, etc. Of these gemstones, agate and carnelian were found in substantial quality, mainly in the state of Gujarat and in South India. South India is in fact the richest in the precious stones. The precious stones are widely used in making jewelry. They are used in jewelry. Besides, they are used in decorating various objects like small boxes, cups, glasses, costumes, statues, etc. And in the earlier time, they were used in the hands of the swords, weapons, thrones, and article of daily use for the royal people and the wealthy people. In many Mughal buildings, precious stones, we find out the use of precious stones for decorative purpose. And another important thing, the Indians have a great belief in astronomy. Because they have a great belief in astronomy, gems play an important role in the Indian system of astronomy and medicine. In Indian astronomy and astrology, it is believed that different stones govern different planets and specific stones have been identified with specific planets. So people born under a particular zodiac sign are assigned stones favorable to that zodiac sign. So the Indians, so here you see naturally the gemstones, which stone will be effective for me from zodiac standpoint, I will definitely use that stone. So the Indians in general, they have a fascination for gemstone based on astrology. And in the Indian system of medicine, also specific stones are prescribed for specific ailments. These stones are generally worn in the rings, worn in rings in the at finger as prescribed. So the whole thing is this, the gems are generally used. Now coming to the jewelry, the gold and the silver works. The gold and the silvers were mainly used for making jewelry, article of daily use, statues of gods and goddesses, objective objects for decorative purpose, and use of gold and silver thread for making the costumes and making coins. Before now we have a paper currency, but before the arrival of a paper currency in medieval and in early modern phase, there was the use of gold, silver coin. The main source of gold in India, the Kolar gold mines in Karnataka. So also along with that, gold was extracted from riverbeds of Kashmir, Punjab, Gujarat, Bengal, hills of UP and Assam. The state of Rajasthan has the main source and supply of silver. The hills of Kumaon, Himachal Pradesh, and Assam, to some extent, have also yielded the amounts of silver. Then what happened? What we do with the gold and silver works? The copper, bronze we included in the metal work, but now gone are those days when there was the use of copper as the jewelry. Now it is the black metal recently, then otherwise general ornaments are made from gold and silver. India has a great variety of ornament and jewelry. From the glass jewelry of Western Ghat in Maharashtra to the best quality of gold and diamond jewelry made by the finest craftsmen is worn by Indian women and men. So in terms of antiquity, India has a tradition of more than 500 years of jewelry of gold and other materials. Here I told you that if we again look to the archaeological remains of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, we find out that the different types of pictures engraved on the seals, different types of statues and the figurines that have been found out, there is the use of different types of ornaments. So now when we are going, it was earlier, silver is considered to be precious and favored of a top priority. First priority is gold. Gold ornament, because of the price and non-decay of the metal, are the most valuable asset. Silver comes next. Then comes copper, bronze, brass, and other alloys used all over the country. In many regions, ivory, bone, horn, and leather are also used to make ornaments. Various types of ornaments. Ornaments used for head, that is head ornament. The first head ornament called turban jewels, those which are not in common but used by the turbans are generally used by kingly class and the royalty, the chiefs in their turbans, they used to have the ornament, head ornament. Other two head ornaments are used by women. The first is on the forehead, tikka, and the other in turban you will find out what is called jigha or sarpati, and then comes the other parts. So in the head ornament there is the use of this ornament, head ornament, there is use of jigha, tarpati. Ornaments of ear, then your neck are most common, and the ear ornaments are of various types. The most common are small drops, dropping types, etc. The nose is another part which is popularly used for wearing ornament. Small nose studs or a circular ring are the common types. Then neck is adorned with neck ornament, and the most commonly used ornament is necklace. So you see, ornaments for hands can be of your these bangles. So ornament for hands is for bangle, and here at the arms you will use armlet, and for the wrist there is a wristlet, and what I am wearing, this is bangle. So bangle is the general use, but when I use an ornament, that is in my wrist, that is wristlet, and in my upper arm the ornament, that is called armlet. And here we find out in a large number of communities, generally the ornaments, anklets in the toe, for the leg we have ornaments, the toe rings and the anklets. Anklets come in various shapes, etc. It is jewelry through the edges. Now we shall see the use of jewelry through the edges. So if we follow the pages of history, we find out that jewelry has been in long use. The Harappan excavation have yielded number of ornaments. Those were included the earring, bangles, string of beads, necklaces, rings, hairpins, and other items. Besides, of all varieties are most prominent. These are gold, silver, bronze, and different stone, shell, clay, and semi-precious materials were used. So among the stone, the steatite is very famous, carnelian, quartz, agate, the precious stones were used for making ornaments, and the ornaments of ivory and bone, they were also familiar. In Rig Veda, we find out reference to the use of jewelry. Other Vedas also give references, the use of ornaments like necklaces, earrings, bangles, etc., etc. Thus, we find out that In Harappan and Vedic civilization, there is reference to jewelry or ornaments used by the inhabitants. Ramayana and Mahabharata also provide innumerable references to ornaments of gold as precious objects. And sculptures, in different sculptures of ancient and medieval period, in the paintings, sculptures of Sanchi, Bhurut, Amaravati, in the paintings of Ajanta caves, and the sculptor of later period in Puri, Konark, Khajuraho show the use of varieties of ornaments. The whole thing is this: our historical objects, they stand as a silent testimonial to the use of the ornament or the ornament fascination of the Indians. Medieval India in the medieval period, especially during the time of Mughal period, ornament and jewelry reached a new height. A number of beautiful specimens of this period are preserved even till today. The European travelers visiting India in 16th and 17th century, they have referred to the amount of jewelry used by the royalty and by the common man. So here the most significant feature of jewelry of Mughal period was the use of jewels. The beautiful jewelry studded with diamonds, rubies, emeralds, pearls were the best example of the craftsmanship of the skill of the goldsmith. This tradition continued till 18th and 19th century. Then, during the period of when the Europeans came, we find out there is this tradition, during this period, European influence, it is also visible. All these things, if you want to see, they are preserved in the National Museum of New Delhi, Victoria Albert Museum, in various museums, both in England and in India. The main centers of production, we find out that different centers were there where they were being produced. Nowadays, at present, you will see the artificial jewelry, because gold is getting costly. Jewelry, which is almost in every big and small towns, goldsmiths are there, but nowadays artificial jewelry is made through machines. Beads, gold, silverware, chains is made with machine also, which are shaped into jewelry by craftsmen. So now we find out necklaces, bracelets, armlets, girdles made in Maharashtra, made in beautiful patterns, are used by the Thakurs and Kathariyas of Western Ghats. Male members are also using this. Rajasthan have a rich tradition of jewelry, gold, diamond, ornament, etc. So now Shekhawati in Rajasthan specializes in silver ornament. The northern India, Kashmir, has the most exquisite jewelry. So you see, because you are not acquainted with the geography of India, my point is to show you different regions of India. They have their own specialization in different types of jewelry. In South India, jewelries are made purely with solid gold, and Hyderabad in Andhra Pradesh is an exception where stonework in gold is a specialized art. Then, and the Assam jewelry in gold, silver, stone, metal are all popular. As you know, the Indians are very fond of jewelry. If you are looking through TV, if you are looking through the TV, the other magazines, papers, you will find out how the Indians, they are using the ornaments, both male and female folk. Even the modern generation, they use it. The design not be very traditional, the modern designs very attractive but very catchy designs they are using. Then the kundan and minakari work, on the ornament, on the gold and silver jewelry. When the work is done, enamel work with bright color, that is called the minakari work. It is another, they are further attractive. The jewelry, minakari jewelry or the kundan work on the jewelry, they are the other important rich legacy of India. India has a large population spread over length and breadth of the country. So they are all accustomed in using ornaments. The or materials used in most of the cases are silver, brass, bronze, bones, bits of stone, and large variety of sundry materials. But coming to the present generation, they have their taste for ornament, but that should be of modern design, not the artificial, traditional design, but they are artificial jewelry. So they have their fascination for artificial jewelry. They are done with machine with an exquisite type of design and variety. And the other traditional jewelry, they are made by hand. So naturally it is time taking, it is more costly, and it is durable also. And have it is the here we find out, if we look to the book The Craft Tradition of India, you will find out the Indians how they were very much attracted towards this craft tradition, mainly the jewelry tradition. Then the other crafts, besides this jewelry, we will discuss the horn work tradition. Another feature of Indian handicraft is hornwork tradition, a variety of small objects made from animal horns have been available to us from different parts of India. Horns of rhinoceros was used for medicinal purposes and making charms. This is now been completely banned. Now you cannot make medicine from the horn of rhinoceros. Horn of other animals are used for making combs, pins, making combs, pins, small animals, birds, toys, buttons, small trays, cigarette cases, boxes, ashtrays, pen stand, lamp stand, etc. Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh, Honnavar and Belgaum in Karnataka, Trivandrum in Kerala, Cuttack and Parlakemandi in Orissa, Saraitaran in UP are the important places where the craft is being craftized. It is prepared by the horn of the animals. While the Uttar Pradesh is famous for making combs, cutlery, hands and toys, in the Ratnagiri district of Maharashtra, we find out horn works which are made for ritual objects, for pouring water on the deities. So they made a type of pot where you can pour water upon the head of the deities. So horn work is another type of handicraft. Then cell work. Sea cells and conch cells have been for centuries used for making various objects. Conch cells have religious and social significance. They are used throughout the country for blowing conches and religious occasion. The statues of Durga show her holding a conch in one of her hands. So a large number of objects made of cell have been found out in Harappan excavation. At present, in coastal areas, these cell items are available. In the Visakhapatnam area, in Bay of Bengal Bay of Bengal coast, tortoise shell is used for making trinket boxes with designs in geometrical pattern and floral design. In Bengal, different types of bangle are made from cells. Children bangles are called Guinea Wala, are beautiful with various patterns. So in Odisha also, we find out small toys, figures, small figures by sticking together with small cells, they are available. And in some coastal region, the pendants for necklace is also made from the cell. So this is your horn work, cell work. They are also the other important crafts. The next is your paper mache. The Central Asian craft technique of using paper pulp as a base to manufacture finely painted and decorated object was brought to India in 16th century. This craft flourishes especially in Kashmir. The craft reached great perfection during the time of Mughal rule. The Mughal emperor were great patron of craft, and they now brought these paper mache craftsmen from Kashmir to Delhi and Agra. However, till now, Kashmir remains to be the main center of this paper mache craft. Besides Kashmir, in a limited number, this craft is practiced in Guwahati, Jaipur, and few places in South India. So what happened? The For painting and decorating with wood, we find out that paper raw material produced by grinding paper, cloth, rice, straw, and copper sulfate in a pulp, then the object is made. The painting and decorating, for painting and decorating gold, white, and red color, golden color, black color are commonly used. The artists prepare their own colors by mixing various herbals and chemical substances. The range of what type of articles are made from paper mache? The range of articles made is wide. The most popular articles are pen stand, tray, jewelry chest, bowls, tabletops, small and big boxes, candle stands, decorative pieces, acts of various sizes and shapes, ornamental works on objects in integrated designs. So while discussing about the other craft, I now made focus or our point of discussion centered around the horn work, the sail work, the paper mache work. So dear students, I now covered the third unit of your paper, and that third unit was on ivory, then coral, ivory, coral, then gems and jewelries. The last unit, unit 14, that will be on your textile and custom. So, Indian textile and Indian costume. As you know, India has the one of the richest tradition of handmade textile made from different materials using different techniques. Indian textiles are closely associated with Indian culture to the extent one can find various socio-cultural activities reflected through textile. And here we find out that different states in India, they have their own textile traditions. Now, when we go to search for the history of textile in India, perhaps the history of textile is as old as Indian civilization. It is as old as Indian civilization. The earliest example of cotton fabric comes from Harappan civilization around 2500 before Christian era. It is dyed cotton with the use of modern technique. So it is a dyed cotton by that time it was. So we find out the use of cotton fabric from Harappan excavation. Rig Veda refers to the golden oven fabric, Hiranyadrapi, and the epics of Mahabharata and Ramayana mentions the Pearl fringed fabric means the fabric which is decorated fringed with pearls, while in Jaina texts there is example of silk garments. Then the Greek historians, they have recorded the gorgeous Paithani fabric from Paithan. Paithan is a place, and the gorgeous type of fabric that was made from Paithan is Paithani fabric. Its name is, modern name is Paithan, ancient name was Pratisthana. So a book is there. The name of the book is Periplus of Erythraean Sea. It was written in first century of Christian era. There we find out the mention of Indian dyed cottons, the Indian colored cotton in Rome. So the Indian colored cotton was in prevalence in Rome. Yesterday I was referring to Indo-Roman trade, and in course of a number of Indian Roman coins have been found out in India, and the Indian fabrics, they were in Indian dyed cotton cloth, they were in heavy demand. So far as this finest cotton cloth is concerned, then Bengal was the chief center. We get reference to cotton trading in the region or in the state of Bengal for almost last 2000 years. The Jaina text, the Buddhist text, the Hindu text refer to the flourishing trade port town of Tamralipta. Similarly, in the book Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, the port town, different port towns, the muslin cloth of Dhaka, and the other important Gujarat as the center, the state of Gujarat as the center for cotton production, all these things have found out mention in that particular book. The book was written in first century Christian era. So almost 2000 years back, we find out these references. Now, coming to the period of Muslim rule, we find out the Indian craftsmen were exposed to spinning wheel. Previously, the Indian women used to spin the yarn with a single spindle. But with the introduction of spinning wheel, not only the production increased, but also the wheel attached, it's reduced the physical labor. So my point is this tradition was there with India since a long time, but again, with the march of time, coming in contact with the Islamic tradition or Islamic people, now they came to know the Indian craftsmen. They knew what is spinning wheel. Previously, they were used to spin the yarn with a single spindle. Now, we find out also they learned the carpet weaving. It was during time of Mughal Emperor Akbar, who now brought Persian carpet weavers from Persia to India and set up the royal workshop, what is called the carpet weaving. Now, this carpet weaving, it was also there. Now, another important thing, that Tanchoi, it was introduced in Surat by three Parsi brothers who brought this art from China. You see that this tradition gradually has been enriched with its exposure and coming in contact with the tradition of the other countries. Since the Parsi community continued this profession until recently, the European travelers, they, in their accounts, they have referred to this tradition of weaving tanchoi. The special jamdani weaving of Dhaka, here we find out it is also of great demand, and even till today you will find out that Jamdani tradition, Dhakai Jamdani. Dhaka, from Dhaka the word is Dhakai and it is called Dhakai Jamdani. What are the materials used? The material, what is the materialistic base of Indian textile? Now we find out the Indian textile. The credit first was your cotton, and during the time mulberry, tussar, munga, and eri. The silk whose silkworms are hatched from mulberry tree. So gradually you will find out, besides the cotton textile, we find out the other mulberry, tussar, munga, then also the wool. The wool for pile is your pasmina, fajlika, joria, bikaneri. The Indian loom, how they were preparing the cloths, it is through Indian loom. The Indian loom is horizontal loom. I am not going to give you the description of Indian loom, but all they were made, it is through Indian looms. You see, when I am talking of the textile and costume, so India has a very, very rich tradition. India has a very, very rich tradition of textile. Different states have their own different textile characteristics. So the textile production in India, it varies from state to state. The pattern of the weavers, I can tell you two different techniques. One is ikat, another is brocade textile. The most indigenous method for patterning, used for patterning during the wave, is ikat, and another is your brocade textile. Dear participants, because you are not accustomed to this Indian tradition, I must suggest you kindly go through the net, the ikat trend, the brocaded textile, the dyes. The most indigenous method used by the Indian weavers to resist dye technique for print. There are 8 different techniques used to resist dye: the fold resist dyeing, the stitch resist dyeing, the wrap resist dyeing, tie resist dyeing, then stencil resist dyeing, then your paste or wax resist dyeing, mordant resist dyeing, and resist dyeing of yarn to be woven after patterning. Then another type of earning is their bandhani, block printing, ajrak. So all these things are there, and it requires that you must, this belongs to bandhani type, it is only found out in Rajasthan. The tie and dye fabric is best produced in the state of Gujarat and Rajasthan. So I am not going to tell you the technique because it is, you can't follow. It is a great time taking process. Time will not permit me. Now the embroidered textile. Another important thing, the cloths that either men or women they used to wear, they have got embroidered. Embroidered means handmade knitting and stitching. They have also their own divisions. The kantha stitch, the patchwork was mainly made out and disused by the saris and dhotis and the other dress materials. So the kantha stitches, embroidered kantha stitches, then chikan. It is mainly done in cotton thread on white cotton, and this is Lucknow, the state. The city of Lucknow is famous for that. At present, different styles of chikan work are commonly found out, where in different places. Now, the art developed under the patronage of the ruler of house. Then applique work. The traditional home of applique or patchwork are your Kuch, Saurashtra, Bengal, Bihar, etc. In applique technique, motifs are cut from the colored fabric and applied to a plain ground. So the applique work, the patchwork design, so you can see the pictures in the net, then you can get the work. Then that is your fulkari or flower work. And the dress I have worn, I can show you that it is the sample of fulkari work. So this is fulkari work. It is the form of embroidery of Punjab, state of Punjab, done, which is done on darn and stitch over counted threads by using floss, silk thread, etc., etc. The different nowadays, besides the traditional fulkari technique, in dance and silk embroidery is also used. So fulkari or flower work, it is typical of your Punjab. Then we find out the silk technology. The silk technology, the silk worms, as I told you, were produced on various types of trees, and variety of silk worms hatched for producing various kinds of silk. And this is another your type of things, the costumes, the silk costumes, they are very much popular in India, and the Indians have special fascination for your these silk cloths, and especially the tussar cloths, they are also used for religious purposes. Then wool weaving technology. So cotton, silk, then the next step was your wool weaving technology. So here we find out for cleaning and separating a wool from, it is the process is there how wool is called the Kashmir woolen industry. Kashmir is famous for woolen industry. And here we find out the Kashmiri shawls. Now, in other parts of North India, in Uttarakhand and in Himachal Pradesh also, you will find out these Kashmiri shawls. And I told you that the different forms of wool, wool and are for your Pashmina shawl, Fajlika, Juria, etc. The organization of textile production. Weavers are assisted by large number of craftsmen. The cloths are prepared by the weavers, and weavers are assisted by the by the craftsmen. The peasant grow cotton, cotton carded, etc. They prepare it, and now then there are the arrangement how they prepare it for making wooden shawls. A large number of machinery of craftsmen are involved. You see, Indian handicraft is a very big process. So here you will find out the involvement from the craftsmen, from peasant till the person, the entrepreneurs who deal with this your textile. Anyhow, now Indian costumes, when textile industry of India is so varied, naturally Indian costumes are also diverse in character, varied in character. Rig Veda, the earliest of Indian literature, it now refers that by the time the people were using three types of cloths, Vasa, Nibi, and Adhivasa. A portion of cloth covering the lower part of the body, another piece of cloth covering the upper part of the body, and another cloth meant for the head dress in the form of a turban. And we find out that when Sang, the Chinese traveler, referred in his account that how the Indian clothing was very, he says, refer to the Indian clothing. So the reference to Indian clothing or the Indian costumes find place in the literary texts and also in the sculptural representation. The medieval Indian costumes, it has been to some extent described in your Aini Akbari, the book by Abul Fazl. Coming to the modern Indian costumes, you will find out that we have our, at present, things are fast changing. We have our traditional costumes for different regions, but along with that, we find out that suppose the I Eastern India, sari is the main dress, but now you will find out the salwar kameez, the cholis, the ghagras, etc. In place of dhoti for men, besides shirt and pant, you will find out the tight pajama, long kurta, then your Punjabi. So the different, now there is a intermixture of dresses of the various region. For example, the Rajput women wear voluminous ghagra, choli, odhana, tight pajama, long kurta. It is by UP women, and the Muslim women they wear salwar and kameez, and then sari, which is the traditional dress. It is found out mainly in the marriage ceremonies, and the Santhal other area, the tribal women, they have their own customs. The tribal people have their own custom. The Assam women still wear their traditional mekhla, the traditional mekhla dress. What is the dress, etc.? They have their references. The traditionally men wear dhuti, kurta, chadar, and short pajama, lungi, sherwani, achkan, pagdi, or turban. My point of view is this, that in India, when we look to the custom tradition of India, India's custom tradition is presents a very rich heritage. And this textile industry of India, it is vast and it is extensive. So today handloom industry is the largest sector. It accounts for nearly 30% of the total textile production of the country. Handloom sector. Besides, we have power loom sector. There are about 3.8 million handlooms and about 10 million people depending on them. Thus, with such vast stake, naturally the sector attracts prime attention of the government of India. Today, handloom sector is an important sector for the policy of self-sufficiency. So what the government has done? So now after independence, different types of boards and different units have come into commissions, have been emporium, have been established by government to bring this sector into limelight and to how to providing opportunities for the flourishment. All India Handloom Board, the Handicraft Board, Khadi and Village Industry Commissions, the cooperative members, cooperative units, the Central Handicraft Emporium, Central Silk Board, then Tassar Emporium, then all these are the different organizations which have been created by the government. And in 1985, Parliament has passed the Handloom Act. It has resulted in the establishment of 3 regional enforcement offices at Delhi, Pune, and Coimbatore. It has launched an extensive program for publicity and that of your promotion. As a result of this policy, we find out that more and more involvement workers, they are getting involved. More and more production has increased, and still then more is to be done to ensure that the real profit must reach the weaver. And now when we come to the last part of my lecture, textile, customs and tourism. And today when we look to the textile and costume from tourism perspective, it is closely related. One cannot separate the cultural, tourism and textile. So when one tourist visits the different places, he must try to know the first-hand knowledge about the traditional weaving and printing of India, because the special interest tour packages are organized to the traditional weaving centers. Special crafts museum are established where the artifacts are displayed. The famous Calico Museum in Ahmedabad, where rare pieces relating to costume, textile technology, artisan tools, they are preserved. It is an important place of tourist attraction. And people, present generation, they are very crazy handloom is present-day craze. In each tourism promotional brochures of textile of the particular region forms the foremost place. Wherever you want to go, you will see the textile brochure, promotional brochure, textile that will form the first foremost place. Even the foreign tourists who come to India to visit India love to buy Indian hand-woven cloths, increasing demand for Indian hand-woven textiles in the world market is an ample proof of the interest taken by the foreign tourists in Indian textile. When a tourist visit a place, the first thing he or she would like to do is to roam in the market and enjoy watching the local costume and the textile. You can see the foreigners, especially the women, attempting to fold saris around. The increase in the textile demand during the tourist season is a clear indicator of tourists' shown interest in the Indian regional and local costumes and clothes of the places they visit. So when we look at the tourism prospect, when we look at the tourism prospect, how it is related, how tourism is related to your tourism is related, we find out that in textile and costume, they have their own interest. My point of view is this, that from the perspective of tourism, Indian culture with specific reference to handicraft, it is very, very interesting. We have covered the 4 units. The first thing that I focused was the commoditization of handicraft. How handicraft previously, which was limited in its use, now gradually got a broad base when it was regarded as a commodity, when it was regarded or when it was used for the purpose of selling in the market, sale in the market, it was converted to a commodity. The process was commoditization, and then it got its marketing value. So commoditization of handicraft, and in that process, I now discussed, made you acquainted with various types of handicrafts like clay craft, stone craft, wood craft, and that of your metal craft. The clay craft also, it has division, the ceramics, the porcelain, the earthenware, terracotta, etc. The stone craft of different types of gemstones, carnelian, agate, steatite, lapis lazuli, etc., etc. Then wood, bamboo, cane, and different types of grasses. That was our point of discussion. And the metal craft, copper, bronze, tin, silver, gold, and then some minor crafts like horn works, cell works, then paper mache works. They now were included in our point of discussion. The ivory craft, though it is very limited in its use nowadays, and it has been banned, still then, after the natural death of an elephant, to some extent it is practiced, but very, very limited. But it was in a very prevalent form in ancient and medieval time, the ivory craft, the craft on coral, and the gems, various types of gems, the jewelries. We have discussed it, that how the Indians, they were in favor, how the Indians, they were in favor of handicraft object. They had a fascination for handicraft object. We discussed it. And the last part of our discussion, it's centered around the most important aspect of Indian textile, that is your cotton textile. And here it will not be out of context to mention that when when India was under colonial rule, the very important sector which got affected with the colonial rule was the handicraft section, the textile section, the textile section of Indian handicraft. And because the Indian Englishmen brought machine-made cloth from their own country, by that time the Indians were not accustomed to machine-made cloth. It was very thin and fine with prints on it. They were attracted to purchase that. The profit went to the English pocket, and the Indian industry, cottage industry or the textile industry, it impoverished. So it was a very affected factor. The handloom sector of India was badly affected during the time of English rule. And thanks to the governments of independent India, immediately after the achievement of Indian independence, now the government has established several types of boards, several types of emporiums, not only to attract the tourists, but also to give proper justice to the handloom workers. How the middlemen who used to get more and more profit, who used to make profit in between, the go between, they were the go between the producer and the, but that of the person who purchased it. Producer and the merchant, they were the go between. So now the producer or the weaver who was deprived of his real share of a profit, how he will get his real reward. A number of steps have been taken in this regard. And when textile industry in India is now, textile industry and especially the handicraft textile industry, that is middlemen, yes, the middlemen, they used to make huge profit. So now we will discuss the costumes. As you know, that my India is a multi-religious, multilingual, and its geographical position of the entire country is not same. Where in extreme south, there in south you'll find out extreme heat, in the north there is snowfall. So the diversity of the climate, due to the diversity in the climate, climatic condition, the dresses, the costumes worn by the people in different in various parts of India, it differs. So when we are going to discuss about the costumes of India, we find out that the costumes of India, it differs. In northern India, they have their specific costume. In South India, they have their costume. Eastern India, they maintain their unique standard. But amidst this diversity in the costume, we find out the traditional Indian dhoti and sari. It is there, and along with the traditional dresses, the costumes from the people also prefer, the present generation very much prefer to wear the costumes of the different region. As I told you, for a female member, besides sari, salwar kameez, ghagra choli, sarara, garara, all these things, they now like to wear the customs of different region. And the male member, besides their traditional dhoti and the shirt and pant, they prefer to wear this chudidar pajama, then kurta pajama, the pathani shoot. So various types they. So now you will find out as if the costumes they have got. The regional costumes of different regions, they have got intermixed with each other. Today, uh, as I found out, only one participant is there. He is Hamza. Mr. Hamza, do you like to ask me any question? I will be very happy because almost all the students, the participants, they have left. So will you like to interact with me? Please give me in writing.
Okay, ma'am. First of all, I have to say thank you, thank you, thank you for the wonderful presentation. Honestly, I really enjoyed the session, but from my side, there is no question because sometimes I used to jot down some points, but because of sometimes they are going a little bit past. So usually, what I used to do is I used to go to the regional center channel on the YouTube and
Acha.
watch it again so that I will understand it better.
So, what I found out from your conversation, you are very meticulous, isn't it? So, when you are going and again you are listening to me, so I feel myself very much elated. Yes, I may be faster because to speak for 2 hours together is a very tedious job, and have
Yes,
if there will be
ma'am.
interaction, I would have been very happy anyhow. That you have given me a patient hearing, that's enough for me. And the whole thing is, I must suggest you. So, the things which you are unable to follow from my lecture, either you go to net, and if you will, in the net, you will, what I told you, you will at least found out some reference. Suppose kalamkari. You could not
Okay,
understand
ma'am.
what is kalamkari? So you write it, it is a type of handloom work typical of a particular state, and the name of the state is Andhra Pradesh. There you will find out kalamkari, not all over India. I belong to
Okay.
state of Orissa, so if you will the Sambalpuri, it is typical of Orissa, not of any state. So, what is Sambalpur? It is because it started from the place called Sambalpur. The handicraft is called Sambalpuri. So, my
Okay.
suggestion is, because you are an
Okay.
outsider, you are not an Indian. Naturally, it is quite natural. You have less idea about the traditional customs and the places. So, in case you face any difficulty, kindly go to net and you have your book. And also, if you don't follow, then you can ask me also. You can ask me, I will try. I am a teacher. It is my duty. I feel happy if a student asks me or tells about his difficulty. Madam, I am unable to follow it. I am there to help you. That is my basic duty, and I liked it also. I like it. And you see, today's time is over. I must be thankful to you for giving me a patient hearing. One class more is there, and that will be on Monday sharply at 3 p.m. and kindly you come and the two the rest units blocks, the tribal culture, the policy issues in culture, I will complete in that class on coming Monday class, that is on 16th October. And hope today's class what I have taught you, kindly go through it, or in case where I have become faster, you again listen to YouTube. In case you are unable to follow me, then you can ask me in the coming class also. The rest 7 classes, including today's class, you if you have any difficulty, then write it down and then ask me in the coming class. Okay? Thank you. Good afternoon again. And with this, now I stopped this class. Thank you all. But ma'am, after watching it, I may have a question how to reach you. You ask me in the coming class. You ask
Okay,
me
ma'am.
in the coming
Okay.
class.
Okay. Okay,
Thank you.
ma'am. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
very much. Thank you.